what can we do to turn this tide? Because
Well,
the presumption of innocence does not exist anymore, and I don't care what anybody says. Legal Vice says, has Steve shared his thoughts on the Anderson appeal? And if so, I will clip to help the family, hopefully.
I didn't really follow that.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Talk amongst yourselves while I take another giant bite of this ridiculously unhealthy thing.
Yeah, I did not. I know that the consensus of the people that have been following it was that it was a wrongful conviction, or it was not proven beyond a reasonable doubt.
Okay, there is no body. There is no murder weapon. The defendant's DNA is anywhere related to the crime scene.
I seriously didn't follow that case, so it's tough because I know Andrew Branca likes to say that a good case is you can 10% chance of losing. In public defender's office, our thing is it's a 50-50 shot. Even a good defense case is a 50-50 shot, and people don't believe me, but boy, I'll tell you, I think maybe you guys are getting on board with the flaws in the criminal justice system. Having watched a few of these trials, that I think the consensus is that the state had not proven it beyond a reasonable doubt, but then yet we see convictions. People come in with so much baggage and so much misunderstanding about the process. I was watching something that I can't really talk about because I'm involved in it. But I will say that reading chats and reading people commenting on the process is pretty shocking. They don't have any clue really what's even going on. And it's like, and they're commenting out of their rear ends. They're so passionate about their position.
Yeah.
And they want to bury their heads and they don't want to hear about anything.
For the first time ever
it's really quite shocking. We have an adversarial I teach this, when we talk. I try to teach people about, we have a judge who's supposed to call the balls and strikes. You've got a prosecutor who's supposed to obey the law. You have a defense attorney who's supposed to advocate, and you've got a jury that is supposed to be in a jury is supposed to find the facts as proven beyond a reasonable doubt. But, these parties are abandoning their roles, and we've undermined the system by everybody wanting to undermine the roles. They don't want to hear what the defense has to say. Oh, don't talk. They're guilty, right? And judge, how can you say that? When they're just going through the process, and then the jury, everybody wants to abandon their roles because they've predetermined what they've decided, rather than feeding the system with proper inputs by parties playing their roles. So it's quite discouraging, because if we all end up not believing in the system and throwing it out, then the system you're going to get after it is going to be much worse.
I think the problem that me, you, and everybody else is having is we're getting bogged down on the details. Like, why didn't they do this, or how could they not understand that? Juries understand what juries understand. However they interpret things, however they see things, whatever their notes may say, whatever prejudices, biases they come in with, they have. Good Logic Joe and I were talking about this the other day. Is rather than you wonder about the individual cases, what can we do to turn this tide? Well, the presumption of innocence does not exist anymore, and I don't care what anybody says. It's the old, if they were arrested for something, they were charged with something, they were put on trial for something, so they must have done it, because the police would never do that. I was saying that we need to get back. We don't teach civics in school anymore. We don't teach the process. Well, you do, because you're better than everybody else, Steve.
No. Well, but actually what you're talking about is what can we do? My first book is all about law and hard law, and it's talking to people who are kind of law nerds who are interested in legal questions and who are rational and this sort of thing.
He said it.
But I think that this book is targeting individuals, because what we really have lost is the reasonable person. In order to have a reasonable standard that works, we need to have reasonable people. And so this book is targeting individuals, every individual, and we need to build every individual up so that we have a collection of reasonable people that make up our society, a collection of reasonable people who have free minds, who are independent thinkers. And so this book is designed to liberate your mind from the baggages of tyranny external, but also baggages of tyranny internal, so that we can develop free individuals and do that one by one. And I understand you're talking about teaching civics. I'm talking about taking individuals and freeing their minds from the tyranny's enslavement of their unconscious biases. So when you get your book, I really want you to kind of spread the word and get the book out as widely as possible. I'm not even adverse to signing some sort of book deal, because this book I really want to get out to as many, because we need to create a reasonable populace.
Mm-hmm.
We need to create reasonable people in our society to support our republic. Because if we don't have a society filled with reasonable, free-minded people living their lives, we're going to collapse into a tyranny. I need help on getting the message out. The only salvation that we have as a people is to pass wisdom on generation to generation, is to liberate minds, to create free people in our society.
A prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. You have to see it for yourself.
Honestly, before I began following LawTube, I personally felt 99% of the people were guilty before trial. It discussed me how biased I was before, but see, you didn't know you were biased. It was just, that's just what you thought. That's how everybody thought.
Oh yeah, before the Rittenhouse, I mean, I kind of was like, well, okay, they probably are there for a reason, so what the hey? And then I actually saw that trial, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here?
Run.